All right, good morning everyone. Here we are in the kitchen and we are getting ready to make split pea soup. And the recipe I'm going to be following for this comes out of the Complete Guide to Pressure Canning, and I will leave the link down below. It is split pea soup with ham. And as you guys know, I got tons of ham that I need to get used up. And so this is one of the ways I'm going to use it up. So, the first thing I need to do is get everything chopped up. It calls for celery, onions, leeks, and carrots. So it calls the first 4 stalks of celery, or about a cup. So we'll start with the celery. Now guys, I want you guys to know that I keep the leaves off of the celery, and the reason is because in this soup I'm going to add leaves into it. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because the leaves of the celery add a lot of flavor. But I'm also going to take out, you see these strings, I'm going to take these out. And I do that with all my celery. And the reason I do that is because I don't like the strings in the soup, especially if I'm going to be canning it. And so I pull all of those strings out of there. And so I'm going to get these going and get these strings out of here. The sink is clean. You guys know I start my mornings off every morning with a very clean sink. I come in here and clean it all up. Now this is one whole bunch of celery, and I'm going to go ahead and chop it all up, and then I'm going to measure a cup out for this first recipe. Now this first recipe, it says it only makes 3 quarts, so I'm going to see how much I'm going to see how much it makes in one pot, and make sure I have enough room in one of my pots to put 3 quarts, and if I do, then I'll get both pots going. I just need to see the first time I do this. My split pea soup that I made last year, it's good, but it didn't have ham in it, number one, and I'm not completely happy with the flavor of it. So, all right, the rest of these I think I've already done. See these strings? I don't like these strings, so I get rid of them. I want my product to be something that I'm going to enjoy. And then I have this left, and these I just cut the tip off of them. I wash them up, and I chop this whole thing up on a chopping board. Okay, there we go. So let me get busy on chopping things up. You guys know I use my little chopper. I love my little chopper. So we're gonna get these going. My little chopper. I'm gonna slice these up first, and then just like that. That's how simple it is to chop things up with this chopper. I'm not even putting too much pressure on it at all. I'm going to go ahead and slice all of these up just like this into sizes that'll fit on my chopper. I'll chop all these up. catch this one. Part is done. I'm going to start feeding the chopper. Look at that. That one was a little too big. All right, I'm going to get these chopped up, and then I'll bring you back in when I go on to the next vegetable to be chopped up. Everyone, I want you to see the prep that I am doing for my split pea marathon that's about to happen. And so each one of these is one recipe and is supposed to make 3 quarts. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, no, 6. We have 6 of these, okay? And so we are going to be making 6 different cooking sessions with these, okay? So this is the prep. The only thing I have left is the ham. All right, guys, I'm going to bring you in and show you how this is supposed to work, okay? You can see I already have 1 pot started there, and I'm fixing to start a second pot right here. And what we're doing is we're taking a little bit of cooking oil. It calls for olive oil, but what I'm going to do is use what I have open right now, which is this cooking oil that I have, and I'm going to coat the bottom of the pan. I'm going to get some heat on it. And in the first part of this video, you saw me chopping up all of the ingredients and put them into containers for each batch. And so that's what I'm pulling out here. And in here we have, okay, let me put this in here first and get this going. And then I'll tell you what we have in it. We have celery, onion, garlic, I threw in some leeks and carrots, and we're going to saute this just a little bit. And we're going to get the eggs, listen to me. We're going to get the onions translucent and get the seasoning. This is called a seasoning blend, basically. And so we're going to get it releasing its its aroma and get it sauteing. And then once that is done, then we're going to add in 4 cups of chicken stock and 2 cups of water. And then we're going to add in the spices that go along with it. And so let me get this sauteed up a little bit, and then I will come back and show you the next step. Right, we're back because I have this pot over here doing what it's supposed to be doing. I'm bringing it up to a boil. It's up to a boil. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add the next ingredients to it, which is the ham and the yellow split peas. I'm choosing to use yellow split peas, and the reason I'm using yellow split peas is because they're kind of a savory pea, and I want a savory soup, and so that's why I'm using a yellow split pea. Plus, the food bank gave me these free, so that's why I'm using it. All right, we got that in there. Now we're going to mix it up real good. We're going to bring all of this back up to a boil, and we're going to put a lid on it and let it simmer for 30 minutes, and then it'll be ready to go into the jars. All right, get this stirred in here. All right. Now that that is doing what it's supposed to, I am going to add 4 cups chicken broth. And this is my own homemade chicken broth that I'm using. And so we're going to use the entire quart of chicken broth, and then we're going to add half of a quart of water. And that's 4 cups of broth and 2 cups of water. All right, we're going to stir that up. Now we're going to start adding in the seasonings that it calls for. And it calls for 1 teaspoon of sage. So we're going to get this. My sage out, and we're going to get 1 teaspoon of sage in here. Okay. We're going to get 1 teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon of this, and we're using canning salt, not table salt. 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, there we go. Bay leaf, 1 bay leaf. And we're going to get this all mixed together. And now we have our second pot ready, coming up to a boil. And this one I'm bringing back up to a boil. And once it starts boiling, I'm going to shut the temperature down. And we're going to let it simmer for 30 minutes. And in the process, I'm going to get the jars out. Alright, we got my 7 jars out. This recipe says it makes 6 quarts. But I'm going to take 7 out and I'm going to see if I can stretch it to 7. Because my canner holds 7, and so I don't want an empty space in my canner. I do rinse my peas before I put them in the pot, and part of the reason I do that is because I'm trying to get like the powdered starch part off of it. And it gives me a chance to kind of look over the peas and make sure that there's not any, rocks or anything in the peas. So those are rinsed. That is simmering. So I'm going to bring it down to a slow simmer. I am going to add a lid and we're going to let it simmer for 30 minutes. This one is now coming up to a boil. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go ahead and add the peas in. The only thing I have left to do with this is to add peas and the ham in. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add the peas in. Here we go. Now the peas are in there. Let me throw in some ham. And I did food prep before this, and I measured all of the ingredients out and put them in those containers to get them ready to cook, along with the ham and everything. Alright, we're gonna let this stuff simmer for 30 minutes, and then I'll come back when it's ready for me to start filling the jars. Everyone, it is time to jar this stuff up. So here we go. I'm gonna try to stay out of the way of the camera, but the goal is to fill up all 7 of these jars with these 2 pots. And so I'm going to take and evenly disperse 1 scoop in each jar. We're going to go around until all the soup is gone. Let me tell you, this smells good, even though it's not completely cooked yet. Okay, we still have to put it in the pressure cooker. Okay. I'm gonna get this recipe book out of the way. I do not want this stuff on the recipe book. I thought this was going to be a difficult recipe, but once I realized how it was going to work, it wasn't difficult at all. I was really surprised. I spent one day getting all of the ingredients prepared. And then the rest of the time is just filling these 2 pots up. All right, now we're going to start back at the beginning. And I'm counting how many scoops is going in each jar the first round, so I can just go ahead and do that the second round. And I'll pull this pot up here to the front. I'm going to add this remaining into this pot. This is the exact same recipe. So that pot is empty. Now we move on to this one. This winter, this soup is going to be so good. It is going to be so good this winter. I took the bay leaves out of both pots, by the way. I did that. Okay, every jar got 2 scoops. So now we're going to start over again. And I'm going to do a half a scoop in each jar. We're just going to keep going until we run out of soup. I don't want to waste any of this. Because let me tell you, the one that I made last year was a different recipe than this. But I opened up a jar of it. I made it in January. So it was this year. It was just earlier this year. And it is so good. It is so good. Alright, that's good enough. Okay, every jar got pretty much the same amount. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to fill the rest of this jar up with water. And in the canning process, the ham and the beans and the carrots and all that is going to make that a rich broth. But first I'm going to wash up these pans and get them out of the way. And then I'll come back and fill this up. I'll be right back. All right, everyone, I got that cleaned up, and now you can see I got my pitcher of water here. And I am going to go ahead and fill the rest of these jars up with water. All right. Alrighty. I have my fan over my stove on, and I'm sorry if that is making noise on this video, but it was getting a little hot in this kitchen, so I had to kind of vent it out a little bit. All right, there we go. The next step is the same that we do all the time, which is to get a towel with some vinegar on it. Pull my canner up here because it's ready to go. I just got to put water in it. All right. Okay. A little vinegar on this. Then while I'm here, I'm going to pour a little vinegar inside my canner. Pouring a little vinegar inside your canner is going to keep the jars clean as they're going through the canning process. So I'm going to wipe these off real good. You know what? First, what I'm going to do, what step am I missing? Let me get it out. Let's get in here and stir this around. Make sure there's no air bubbles in any of these. Now this is a really low sodium recipe. It is, and it's really healthy for many reasons. I wanted to make sure that the split peas was the star of the show in this because it is a split pea soup. And so it is also a soup, so that's why I added the water at the end. One of the things that I didn't like about the split pea soup that I canned last year was that it turned out really, really thick. And so when I take it out of the jar, don't get me wrong, it's good, all right? But when I take it out of the jar, I have to water it back down to get it into a soupy kind of condition again, all right? And so I'm making sure these jars are really good and clean. And if I feel anything on it, then I switch around my and the reason is because I'm feeling kind of the split pea stickiness. If you've worked with split peas, you know what I'm talking about. It kind of gives like a starchy, sticky thing, okay? And so I'm going to get me one more paper towel and more vinegar. And I'm going to go back over this again just to make sure that my jar lids are going to do what they're supposed to and seal. And so I've got a lot of vinegar on that paper towel. So I'm going to go over this one more time. And now I can feel a complete difference in these jar lids. I certainly don't want any lids. I want the lids to seal, but the rings, I don't want them to get stuck on the jar. And so I'm making sure that everything on the outside is cleaned up really, really good. Before I continue with this, there we go. All right, there we go. I'm pretty sure now that everything is cleaned up on this. So let's get some lids and rings on it. I need 7 rings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's get the lids. All these lids and rings are washed. When I was prepping, I also kept all the jars, the lids, and the rings. so that when I got ready to film today, that this would go smooth. And we're going to do fingertip tight on these. Okay, all the rings are on, all the lids are on. Now we're moving on to preparing the canner. And I did prep on it earlier. I put the vinegar in there. And now I'm going to put the water in. What I do with the water is I have this half-gallon pitcher. And I simply just pour the water from the pitcher into my canner. I do 2 pitchers full. I find that that's what works best in my canner. And I know that this is going to go for an hour and a half because it's quartz. So right, there we go with the pitcher of water. I got the vinegar in there, and now we're going to drop the jars down in there. These jars are not hot, okay? They are to the touch. I can touch them, so they're not hot. And I'm loading my canner. Now I'm going to take and put the lid on the canner. I'll push it down and let the air come out of it. The seal part, the seal around it. And then I'm going to turn it on. Put it on a medium heat to bring everything up slowly, and make sure that the canner is centered on top of the flame. And there we go. And I'll bring you back after the whole process. The whole process is you bring it up, you let the steam vent for 10 minutes out of the top of it, you stick the shaker on it, then you let the shaker start shaking, you turn the temperature down to where it's just barely shaking, and you let it go for an hour and a half for quartz. And I'll bring you back when that process is done. I wanted to bring you guys back in and let you know that the canning recipe that I'm using is out of the Complete Guide to Pressure Canning, and I will leave the link below for you guys. And this is the split pea soup recipe out of here. You guys have a blessed day, because I know I'm blessed. This is going to become another video. One of the problems with canning is that sometimes the canner does not build pressure. It doesn't seal properly. And so when that happens, you literally have to stop it, stop the process, turn the heat off, pull the canner apart, let it cool down a little bit. And this is a cool down process because you don't want to shock the jars. The jars are hot, really hot in there, and so hot that they have sealed. I was listening to them pop. And so now I've got to pull all of the jars back out, let them cool down, unseal them, put new jar lids on them, get them back into the canner, and check the lid to see why it is not sealing. And so I'm going to have to pull that lid apart. I'm going to have to wash it, soak it in a little warm water to get it and put some oil on it to help it to seal. Those are the troubleshooting processes that I do. And so I'm going to take you guys through that process and show you what happens when your canner doesn't seal. Okay, so I'm bringing you in to the process of what happens when your canner malfunctions, okay? What I'm going to do is, now that the jars have cooled down a bit, they have sealed, but I haven't processed them properly, so I've got to bring them back out of the canner. So you guys get to see the detour. I watched my mom do this a few times when the canner didn't seal up. And so we are going to continue with the process, but take a detour. I have to wait until these jars cool down a bit so I don't burn myself in the process of unsealing these jars, because they have to be unsealed. I want to unseal them so that when I get it up to pressure, that all right, the canner itself looks good, the water looks good inside of it, so it must be the seal on the rim. And so here we go. I'm going to bring you over to the sink. Excuse my dirty dishes. All right, I made some ranch dressing getting ready for my lunch. I'm going to have myself a salad, but I'm going to bring you over to the sink over here, where I'm going to deal with, ignore the dirty dishes, okay? I'm going to deal with this lid, okay? This is the subject right here, is this lid. And so we're going to check to see. The first thing I'm going to do is tap it, okay? And it's like I'm not burning myself, so it's all right that I can pull this apart. This is cooled down enough that I can handle it. And so I'm thinking it's the seal here. But we're going to take everything and we're going to wipe it down. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to get me some clean water on this rag. And we are going to wipe down this lid. I'm going to wipe it down. Give me a minute on this. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and handle this. Get these in the dishwasher out of my way. Okay. So I can deal with this lid, okay? I'm gonna rinse these off. The water is getting hot. we are going to run some clean dishwater so I can deal with this lid. And in the meantime, I'm gonna bump you guys around. Whoa, 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 horsey. Welcome to my kitchen. Whoa, horsey. And I'm going to put these dishes in the dishwasher. Whoa. All right. We are now going to get in here and we're going to wash the seal really good. With nice warm water. Okay. And we're going to let it sit in that warm water for a minute. And while that is happening, I'm going to come over to the lid. And I am going to clean around where the seal was. Make sure all of this is cleaned up. Then I'm going to look through that hole, which I know was clear because I could see the steam coming out of it. So I know it was clear. And it is, I can see through it, okay? So it's clear. So this part is done. I'm going to rinse it off after I just put soap on it. I'm going to rinse it off. Then I'm going to come in with a towel. I keep towels handy just when I need them in my kitchen. And I'm going to run the towel around the edge and inside here and make sure everything is clean. Even though I had done this previously, we're going to do it again. All right, so it's all clean and ready to go. So I'm going to set this over here, knowing that that's ready to go. And because it was a seal failure, I have now brought the seal up to warm temperature. I'm going to bring this water over here. Okay, and rinse it off real good. Then, same towel, I'm going to go around this seal real good and clean it, dry it up, dry my hands off because I'm touching the seal, and so dry it off. Alright, now we're sure that the seal is cleaned up. Now I'm going to come along with a little oil, cooking oil, just some cooking oil. I'm going to get my hands with a little oil, and the outside of this seal I'm going to oil up. And I'm going to inspect the seal, and you can see that's what I'm doing. I'm inspecting the seal really well and making sure that it's oiled all the way around. For some reason, sometimes when I oil this up, it will seal for me. And so it's a trick that my mom taught me many years ago. And so I don't see it written down anywhere on the internet, but I've used it in the past when my canner didn't seal, and it worked. And so here we go. I'm putting the seal back on the lid. Making sure that it is correctly in place. Okay, now I'm gonna let this sit here while my jars cool down so I can unseal them and start this process again. This is going to be a longer video than I anticipated today, but it is what it is. And so we adjust and we remain blessed. Guys, I'm bringing you in. Let me move you around a little bit. Every one of the jars sealed, so I popped all the seals off. Put on new jar lids. See? And now I'm going to put the rings back on them. Fingertip tight. And remember, the problem was not with the seals on the jars, it was with the seal on the canner. And so that's what we have to get right. So we're going to try this again. In the meantime, while I let this cool off, I made myself some lunch, made Spice some lunch, let Spice go out, and I went and took a nap. All right, we're going to take and put these jars back into the canner. Before I complete this process, I'm going to add a little bit more water in there, just so I feel comfortable with the amount of water I have in the canner. All right, I feel comfortable with that. And we're going to continue to load this. So 6 around, 1 in the center, makes 7. 1 in the center. Okay. Now I'm going to turn you guys around and let you see the canner. And we're going to try this process again. I'm going to put the canner lid on. Push down. Hear the air escape. And then turn the temperature on underneath it and bring this back up. And once it brings back up, I'll bring you back. Everyone, we are back, and I have built the pressure. It has vented for 10 minutes, and I put on the rocker, and the little button that shows that it's going to seal has popped up finally. So we're in business now. I'll come back. As you can see now, the pressure is building and it has sealed off. So, me going back, taking everything apart, re-washing the seal, giving it a little oil coat, and then putting everything back together has worked. All right, everybody, we are pulling out the jars from the canner, and although this took me all day long, it's 7 o'clock in the evening, we did get it done. And so we're pulling the jars out of the canner right now. And this is now the split pea soup project that I'm putting together. And I'm already enjoying how this recipe of split pea soup that I'm making this year, I'm already enjoying the difference. Okay? Just by the vision of it, just by the way it looks. Okay? And so, we have now 7 jars of split pea soup ready to go into the pantry. And it is boiling. I don't know if you can see that, but that thing is boiling like crazy. Let me see. Let me see if you can catch that. I'm gonna move you around and see. Yes, you can see it. Yes, you can see that thing boiling. And let's hope that they all seal. I've been on a really good roll with this canning season, and I only had 1 jar not seal so far. And that's okay with me because I'll just put it in the refrigerator and eat it, so that's all right. Okay, you guys have a blessed day, because I know I'm blessed, and I'm going to get this video out for you.